refuse to give up the right to enrichment.
Very disappointed in NATO. They didn't do that. They weren't there for us.
This is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict.
We are living through those historic days when geopolitical fault lines are fracturing, century-old alliances are crumbling, and new superpowers are rising from the ashes of war. Welcome to the MrGEOPOL channel, the heart of strategy and analysis. I'm Charlie. Today, I won't just be talking about a crisis in the Middle East. Today, I'll explain how the United States has cornered Iran, China, and even NATO with decisions that have shaken the global agenda. How, in the wake of these moves which Britain has called madness, it has forged its own global coalition. And most strikingly, how, amidst all this global chaos, Ukraine has become an indispensable security shield. I'll lay it all out in the raw. Let's start with the Gulf, where tensions are escalating, right at the heart of that massive crisis. The calendar reads Monday, April 13th, 2026. Last-minute decisions from Washington sent shockwaves through global energy markets and capitals. Donald Trump made that statement that shocked the entire world. I no longer care whether Iran returns to peace talks or not. And starting today, the trigger was pulled on a massive blockade operation covering all Iranian ports. Surely no one fails to realize this is more than just political rhetoric. The world's largest media outlets reported the U.S. decision yesterday as a no-holds-barred blockade in breaking news headlines. So what's the situation on the ground? Has that infamous red line been crossed? Official reports indicate the Pentagon has run out of patience. The U.S. military has officially confirmed that massive warships have transited the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point. And this transit is no ordinary patrol. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, announced to the world in a statement that U.S. forces have actively begun mine-clearing operations in the Strait of Hormuz. This development is a sharp blow to the Iranian state's strategy, and particularly the Iranian intelligence agency MOIS's plans to plunge the region into asymmetric chaos. However, the real storm is brewing in the deep rift this American move has created among its allies. The latest and most critical reports have clearly established that Britain will not participate in the U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz or its unilateral operations. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer stepped before the cameras, setting aside diplomatic niceties, and delivered that historic statement. The conflict with Iran is not our war. At a time when Trump was voicing the possibility of withdrawing from NATO, London's stance is the clearest evidence of the shifting axis within the Western alliance. However, this withdrawal does not mean Britain has retreated into a corner. London is forging ahead through different channels to establish its own global game. It is implementing an alternative plan to prepare its own country for the realities of the New World Order and potential large-scale wars. We understand that Britain is now independent of the American orbit and is attempting to deploy its own military and civil preparedness doctrine, that comprehensive strategic plan for war readiness, onto the ground. The UK is not joining the US's rapid blockade, but is taking an initiative to protect its Gulf allies, that massive Arab capital, and energy routes from Iran's wrath. According to some experts, it is attempting to navigate a fine legal line. This is precisely why the question of how and under what conditions the UK will become involved in this chaos within the US-Israel-Iran triangle has become the most critical issue in reshaping the global security architecture. As independent analysts have noted, behind the UK's balancing act lies the idea of protecting trade routes in the region and consolidating its own independent military power. In this vein, under Prime Minister Starmer's leadership, the UK hosted a meeting of 35 countries to discuss the security of the Strait of Hormuz in response to Iran's threats to block maritime traffic. In fact, this number is steadily increasing. According to the latest data from Reuters, exactly 40 countries are currently gathered at the table to ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz and break that commercial blockade with a diplomatic/military shield. So, who do you think is at the heart of this massive 40-nation coalition and its security shield in terms of technology? The UK is deploying its own air defense systems, Sky Sabre units, and anti-drone networks to the region. That's correct. However, the real game changer at the table is neither the UK nor the US. Our research reveals that the true military genius protecting those massive oil tankers from Iran's cheap yet deadly Shahed drones is none other than Ukraine. This is the most fascinating aspect of geopolitics, friends. As highlighted in the Telegraph's excellent analysis, the most unexpected, most surprising winner of this crisis erupting in the Middle East, this conflict between the US and Iran is actually Ukraine. Think about it. How can a country fighting a massive war on its own soil become the security guarantor of the Gulf region thousands of miles away? Because the UK and its allies now know this very well. You cannot win asymmetric drone wars with billion-dollar Patriots and massive warships. The world's #1 expert in this field is the Ukrainian Mind, which has been hunting these drones in its own skies for 3 years. Indeed, the British government officially announced to the world that Ukraine, with its unparalleled experience in drone countermeasures, could play a very, very vital and beneficial role in the Strait of Hormuz. This statement resonated not only in the British press, but also immediately across international independent platforms, and Ukraine's massive mission was endorsed. This is confirmed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky himself. In a video he released recently, Zelensky announced to the world that the first major agreements on defense cooperation with Asian countries and the Gulf region had been secured. Do you know what Zelensky said in that speech? Please pay close attention to the weight of his words. He says, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov has finalized all agreements regarding the export of our defense capabilities with our partners in the Middle East and the Gulf. Our partners say that Ukraine brings real security to the region. There is massive interest in us in Asia, and the first drafts are being approved. The export of defense capabilities. A nation defending its own country is now exporting technology and strategy to protect the Gulf's multi-billion-dollar oil infrastructure. Middle Eastern countries are now knocking directly on Kiev's door to protect themselves from Iran's destructive airstrikes. So what lies behind this security? What magic wand is drawing that massive Arab capital to Ukraine? The answer lies in that technological revolution, where high intelligence meets low cost. Here it is, the miraculous system that will fundamentally alter the course of the Gulf War and drive Russia into a literal frenzy. The $2,500 unmanned aerial vehicle, a joint production of Ukraine and Japan. Just $2,500. Japan, one of the world's wealthiest economies, is sending its own engineers all the way to the front lines in Ukraine. Why? Because the combat data gathered on that battlefield isn't available in any laboratory. Japanese engineers are heading to the front and returning to their country with these $2,500 asymmetric weapons that are changing the nature of war. This is the technology Gulf nations are lining up to purchase. They will clear the skies of Iran's tens of thousands dollar Shahed drones, not with million-dollar missiles, but with these smart and affordable fighters. This strategic partnership has deepened to such an extent that Japan and Canada have provided an additional $690 million in grant support to strengthen Ukraine's technological infrastructure under the G7's ERA mechanism. The numbers are skyrocketing. Japan's aid to Ukraine by 2026 will reach a full $6 billion, and the total Japanese aid since the start of the war will have surpassed the astronomical threshold of $15 billion. The real blow, however, came from the diplomatic front. According to the historic decision announced by Zelensky himself, Japan will fund the $3 billion portion of the new aid package it is transferring to Ukraine directly from frozen Russian assets. In other words, the funds seized from Russian oligarchs and the Kremlin are being transformed into Ukraine's technological drones and security shields. Can you understand Russia's fury? Its money is being taken away, used to produce weapons, and those weapons are being exported to the Gulf to intercept missiles from its Middle Eastern ally, Iran. This is a true checkmate moment in the geopolitical chess game. We're getting to the real secret that sets Ukraine apart from all other countries, the secret that transformed it from a helpless victim into a tech giant capable of defending itself. It's about not getting bogged down by the state's cumbersome bureaucracy. Recent reports have announced a world first. Ukraine's private air defense systems are now fully operational. Please grasp the significance of this concept. When we examine word for word the remarkable documentary produced by the German media giant Deutsche Welle, DW, after gaining access to that secret bunker in Ukraine, we see how the nature of war has changed. In that basement, which resembles a computer club, Civilians are controlling Sky Sentinel automated turrets hundreds of kilometers away using ordinary video game joysticks. Equipped with machine vision, these towers detect drones in the sky using artificial intelligence. All the operator has to do is lock onto the target and authorize the fire. According to DW, the staff of companies like Carmen Sky, which set up this system, represent a true sociological revolution. Former police officers, taxi drivers, yesterday's Glovo couriers. Today, they've transformed into operators safeguarding the skies, and their success rate is already at 85%. Against the state's long-winded and slow bureaucracy, the private sector's immense speed and flexibility are working wonders on the ground. This is precisely the model the Gulf sheikhs, lining up to protect the Strait of Hormuz, want to adopt from the 40-nation coalition established by the UK. Ukraine's Special Air Defense Vision will become the standard protective shield for all global energy facilities, factories, and ports in the future. As this global vision expands, the obstacles in Ukraine's own backyard in Europe are falling one by one, like dominoes. Remember, for years there was a Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, who operated like a Russian Trojan horse within Brussels, vetoing every aid package destined for Ukraine. I say was because in those historic elections held on Sunday, the expected outcome occurred. Orban suffered a massive defeat, and Péter Magyar's TISA party, led by an opposition figure who openly supports Ukraine, won the election, ushering in a new era in Hungary. This news signifies the fall of Russia's last stronghold in Europe in geopolitical terms. The greatest political barrier to Ukraine's integration with the European Union and its path to NATO has been shattered by the Hungarian people's votes. As political obstacles are removed, flawless military operations on the ground continue to shatter Russia's logistical backbone. Ukraine's asymmetric strategy, backed by European support, relentlessly strikes the enemy's rear. Recent operational reports in the international press revealed that, through the flawless combination of battlefield intelligence and British technology, British drones successfully blew up a massive strategic bridge of vital importance to Russia. The destruction of these bridges and the transformation of those massive oil depots into fireballs, clearly visible even from satellites, is no coincidence. All of this serves as proof of how the immense Ukrainian resistance backed by the UK, funded by Japan, and protected by its own private companies, is causing storms not only on the front lines, but deep within enemy territory. We will all witness the impact this creates on the Middle East axis. To instantly grasp the pure military and geopolitical realities behind this massive paradigm shift in the world, beyond mere propaganda, don't forget to subscribe to the MrGEOPOL channel, turn on your notifications, and support us by liking the video. I'm Charlie. See you in the next analysis. Stay safe.